In order. Um, First off tonight, we have a proclamation for Americans with Disability Act. Whereas on July 26, 1990, President George H. Bush, signed into law the Americans with Disability Act, also known as the ADA, to ensure civil rights of people with disabilities. And whereas this legislation established a clear and comprehensive national mandate for the elimination of discrimination against individuals with disabilities. And whereas the ADA has expanded opportunities for Americans with disabilities by reducing barriers and changing perceptions, increasing full participation in community life, and whereas the full promise of the ADA, however, will only be reached if public entities remain committed in their efforts to fully implement the ADA, and whereas numerous organizations in Jackson County and North Carolina work with constituents and communities to bring forth the promise of hope and freedom that is envisioned by the passage of the ADA. And whereas on the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the County of Jackson celebrates and recognizes the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality and inclusion and recommitting our efforts to reach full ADA compliance. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Jackson County Board of Commissioners hereby reaffirms our commitment to work towards full ADA compliance in the County of Jackson. The Board of Commissioners for Jackson County hereby extends greetings and best wishes to all observing July 26, 2023 as Americans with Disability Act Awareness Day. Tonight, accepting this is Chuck Oakes, Executive Director of Disability Partners. Mr. Oakes, you want to come up? Sorry, me.
Mr. Chairman.
It's quite obvious. Is there a motion to approve this act?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion passes. All right. Now, as a man with a disability right now, I'm gonna see if we can't.
So do that, why don't you just stand up behind that? So
You got it.
I'll do that. There you go.
Perfect. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. One, two, three. One, two, three.
Thank you. Yeah, skinny. All right. Moving on now. Everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. There was one omission, and that's number 4, permitting software. So with that omission, is there a motion to approve the current agenda?
Motion to approve minus item 4.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion passes. All right. So looking at our minutes from our previous meetings, we had one on June 8th. We had one on June 13th, another on June 20th, and then can we do our closed session? No, we can't. So for June 8th, for June 13th, and June 20th, is there a motion to pass these minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Moving on down. All right, so Chairman report. I have a reminder on August 5th. It's the back to school bash. It's hard to believe it's already back to school time, but it will be held out at Cullowhee Valley School and the rec department. So just anyone that you know, send them out. Last year, John and I went, and it was great. I got plans to go again this year, so just remember that. I think it's 9 to 2 on August 5th. Are there any other commissioner reports? Not, we'll move on to Mr. Adams.
Yes, sir, you should have the report in front of you. Have a few items. You do have enclosed in your packets the June 2023 zoning and building permit report. This is just a monthly report that I present to the board. Just a reminder too, we provide this to all the other towns, elected officials or mayors, just so that they have this information. You can see in the month of June, there are no zero permits for planning department and 2 commercial permits, 1 renovation and addition permit. Next item, Eddie Wells provided information to me and wanted me to pass it along to the board and also to the all county operations. You can see attached here is information regarding the hands-on Jackson. And I want to say kudos to Eddie Wells and the Department of Aging and Mountain Projects for putting on this event. If you go and look at the information that's provided in your package, you can see over the last 4 events, they've had over 125 projects completed, 700 volunteers, and hopefully they'll have a major impact this year. This event is organized by the advisory committees comprised of human services agencies, volunteers, and businesses. Ultimately, what you do have in your package, this is self-explanatory, but they are now looking for anywhere from volunteers to donations. So what you can see in your packet, if you go to the next page, is if you know of a project, and they're also seeking projects. If you know of anybody that needs a project in our community completed, you can see this first information is just identifying the project. You can see provides a little bit of rules, must be $1,500 or less, material costs, no roofs, major structural repairs, or items that requires permits. Allowed projects are ramps, stairs, cleaning windows, gutters, pressure washing, underbrushing, landscaping, etc. So if you know anybody that has or pass this along to anybody, they have projects out there that they think need help with, please fill this out and return it to Eddie at Department of Aging. If you look at the next page, you can see this is the actual volunteer form. And so basically they try to develop teams. So if you're an individual volunteer, you can fill this out and submit it. And then now the group will try to place you where you can be of assistance. But then there are businesses and so forth that put together teams. And so you can see it allows for you to put together your volunteer team and submit that to Eddie also. And then finally, they are taking sponsorships. And so the last piece of information is for them to receive sponsorships. And you can see that they have different level sponsorships. $1,000 is a house sponsor. $500 they call a hammer sponsor, and $250 is a friend sponsor. So again, I'd like to say kudos to Mr. Wells, Department on Aging, and Mountain Projects, and all the other agencies that put this event on. It's a very good, impactful event on an annual basis. Next item is the Jackson County Citizens Academy. Once again, I'm moving forward with our Citizens Academy, and I have enclosed information in the package regarding this. Just a reminder, what the Citizens Academy is an 8-week course, generally 1 night a week, except for the last week in September, which we actually meet on a Tuesday and Thursday. But it's an 8-week course, generally on Tuesday evenings. And the purpose of this is to do several things. As you can see on here, is to educate. We attempt to educate the public, educate participants on the actual functioning of our government. I truly believe local government is the most impactful government. It's the government you all, the newly elected commissioners and experienced commissioners, understand. It's a government where citizens can actually reach out and communicate with their elected officials on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They see you in the church and the grocery stores, and your children go to school with their children, and then we're in the community with these folks. So the reality is that you all as elected officials and governmental leaders we're not some far off individuals working in Washington or in Raleigh. We're here with your community. And so that's what we try to educate the people on in regards to just details of our government. The other goal is to promote local government. Again, I believe we are the most impactful on a daily basis to our citizens. And so, what we try to do after we educate people, we're trying to empower them to go and provide accurate information to their relatives, to their friends. Uh, Again, for those of you experienced in government, this isn't new to you. Those of you are new to government, you know that there's always misinformation and information that flows out there. The idea here is to basically get the real information, not only to these people, but these people have relatives that they have and friends and so forth in the community, and we're hoping that they go out and share the actual information about what our local government actually does. And then finally is to engage. What we do is encourage these citizens to participate, and also whoever they may find that are interested is to engage with county government. So applications are being accepted this time. They'll be accepted through August 15th. They'll be notified by August 25th if they're approved. Now, I can tell you, we generally used to limit to 25, but in the last few years, especially last year, it was close whether or not we were going to put this event on. This is a lot of work put together by all of our operations. So we'd like to see at least 15 applications and 15 participants in this. And this is a hands-on. We take these individuals to the different operations. They get to see behind the scenes in certain areas. And so ultimately, if you could, I ask you as a board and for people on YouTube and for the press to advertise this, because in order for this to work, we need to at least have about 15 participants. What you see included also is just a draft session summary. Um, Generally, I try to provide this information to everybody because we ask people, if you sign up for this, this is a commitment. It's an 8-week commitment for these time periods. It's one night a week for the most part. It's 3.5 hours. Yes, if you sign up for this, we ask you to commit to this because there's a lot of commitment if you see on the other side as far as governmental people trying to provide you this information. We feed you. It's a good time. It's not a we try to make this a social and educational event for everybody. And so what will not change is these dates. The dates to the left here, you can see mainly they're on Thursdays from 5 to 8:30. What may change is the order. We're still working this out, but this does give you an idea of where the participants will actually go to and who they will hear from. And so, for example, at the sheriff's office, the sheriff will do his presentation down in his main training room, but then he does tour people through the jail area and he tours people through, he allows them to see the Bearcat and other operational items in that facility. If you take things like if you take things like emergency management, Mr. Dillard will take them into the 911 center and take them through and show some of the capabilities of our emergency management system. Public Works, Green Energy Park. I've highlighted a few things, but what I've found when we first started this program, I always thought that people would maybe gravitate towards the bells and whistles, the emergency management and exciting things. But I tell you, I found just as many people as interested in solid waste and the recycling program and things of that nature. So, again, hopefully we have interest this year, and if people apply, we can move forward with this program. And then finally is the application itself. This application can be found on our homepage, jacksonnc.org, and it's just right there. If you click on it, the application can be filled out and needs to be submitted to Ms. Tucker, my assistant, and we'll go through and review the applications. As with any application, we will go through background checks and things of that nature. Um, you know, these people have to be vetted. The sheriff has to vet these people before he allows them to be toured around the jail, things of that nature. And so we're excited, and hopefully we'll have some a good participation this year. And and hopefully people will move forward with the three goals that we're attempting to accomplish. And Mr. Letson, I believe you're
I'm a graduate
a,
out of there.
a
Yeah,
graduate of this program. So
it was a lot of fun.
next item is again just ending on that. Just to please share this information with anybody you know that may be interested, and we'll collect the applications and move forward with it. The next item is just miscellaneous announcements. The North Carolina Department of Information and Technology announced their second round of GRAPE grants, and I'm pleased to announce that Boston West has been selected to receive 2,400,000. Excuse me, 2,000,000. I did that wrong, didn't I? 400. I put a comma in there. $2,431,130.90. I put the comma in the wrong place on my summary, and that's the reason I was sitting there trying to figure out that number. It will require a $429,023 match from Boston West. So, and this is the second round of grant allotments, but this goes back to the original application process. And as if you recall, we did have Charter or Spectrum that did receive funding, over $4 million funding, which the county matched. And we had that $300,000 match. This will require the 7.5% match. And so, pleased to announce that this will add an additional 636 households and businesses that will get connectivity. And I'm going to scroll back up to my summary. And so it'll add an additional 636 households and businesses in Jackson County to have connectivity. And so I'm glad to state to this point, the maximum that each county was eligible to receive in these grant funds was $8 million. But this was a competitive process. So I'm pleased to state that Jackson County providers received $6,929,000. So we're close to getting all of the maximum amount of $8 million invested in our community. And so that'll be for a total of 1,792 households and businesses served in this county. You'll see the last sentence is the next program coming from NCDIT is the CAB program, the Completing Access to Broadband program. And that'll be something that currently Tiffany Henry, our Economic Development Director, will be leading up that process. She does have a subcommittee that reviews these things and helps us put these programs together. Now, the difference between the GRAPE grant process and the CAB process is the GRAPE grant process allowed for the providers to prioritize. So the providers basically chose where to focus their expansion. And so what Jackson County did was we allocated 7.5% up to 7.5% of our ARPA funds to match. And that's what allowed for our providers to get, first of all, have a reduced matching requirement and also get additional points. But we didn't really have a choice as to where the priority was. We rely completely on NCDIT to vet everything and make the choice. Their awards are based upon, they look at things like households served, they look at cost per household, things of that nature. And we'll still do that in the CAB program. But the CAB program is going to allow the county to get more involved in the prioritization. So what that's going to take is we're going to go through multiple processes in which this will have to come before work sessions and things of that nature, where we'll see where all the grants have overlaid and where basically we're going to see build outs to come in the future. And then that'll allow for Jackson County to turn around and try to make some priorities. General things that I'd hope we would do is prioritize, obviously, like households, children, businesses, things of that nature, but we'll come back to you with all of that. Now, that's the good news is you get to prioritize. The not so good news is the match requirement of this program significantly increases to 35% versus 7.5%. So if you recall, we have about around $2 million. Is that with the revenue replacement funds? 3 million. Okay. So we've got monies available for that. It doesn't necessarily mean you dedicate all the monies for these programs. But at the beginning of this, I've always recommended to the Board of Commissioners to look at approximately $1 million towards this process. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. We'll have to go through the process, but it'll allow you as a board and allow the county to help prioritize. And that'll be a process that'll take months to come, but just let you know that's coming. And it's good news, too, because it's going to allow us to develop partners with these providers, partnerships with these providers, and hopefully target areas that aren't served.
Do we know what area this is going to serve?
The Boston, again, we'll come back and go through this a little bit more detail, but it's going to be the Glenville area, and then it's going to be, and I don't want to misquote this, but it's off of going over above Savannah where Top Cat is over in that area. Okay. Now I don't want to. I would request the newspaper if they write an article on this to get back in touch so that we can be exact, so that we can let the public know where to look at. But it really is. It's over in that area. There's some residential over in that area across from Copcats. So it's on the other side. You know, everybody knows I'm 441 top. So on the other side, 441 on where all those residential areas are. But there is some overlap. So that's the reason I don't want people, they're already receiving service. Like I have friends over there that I know that use Morris, not Morris anymore. It's but but I know that they have that service there. So this isn't independent. I don't think Boston is going to do an overlap on that. So, but it's those two areas. So I do think it's good news that there'll be some residential in Glenville, but I also do think it's on the main corridor there where the businesses are too. So they're going to see some commercial and some residential covered by this.
Question, Ms. Fox.
Yes, sir.
That 3 million, is it after the 7.5% match, or is it before we take that out?
That's before. It's- We have that in addition to the 600,000 match.
Okay. Yeah, because I think the match works out according to the numbers like 520 or something like that.
The total you're talking for for both.
The two different ones. for
So
both.
what happened with it's kind of interesting. We actually went a little less on the initial 300 because it didn't quite reach the 7.5 because we maxed it out at 300, and so it was a look because they received well over 4, and so it was 4 point. What was that? Did I sound? It was like 4 point. I can't remember. It's like 4.2 or 4.4. So we actually undermatched a little bit. That's because we had committed, and they charter was okay or Spectrum was okay to move forward with that. But this one will be the 7.5%. Yeah. So okay, but that's good news. And then the final thing, and I do give kudos to Tiffany Henry for working on all of this with all the grant applicants of submitting that months and months ago. Final is just a reminder to the board, the Southwest Commission is having its annual dinner. It's coming Monday, July 24th at 5:30. If you're able to attend, you can just RSVP here to Miss Ivy and just let her know that you're able to attend. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. On that $3 million approximately that we have, is that ARPA funds?
It's revenue replacement.
Revenue replacement.
Was that part of the $2 million we recently received in sales tax? Or was that separate? Separate, okay, thank you.
No, and then so just a reminder, I think the two major things we got coming up for that revenue replacement funds that will be before this board is hopefully the bids come in correctly with the Center for Domestic Peace, but we do not know what the bids are until we open the bids. And so that along with the broadband discussions I think, I'm not saying it will utilize the full 3 million, but I think between those two, once we get past those two issues, then it'll put this board in a position to know truly how much money you have left for future conversations. So that should be within the next 6 months. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
And we have no one signed up for public comment.
With that, we'll move on to Ms. Henson and the tax collector and refund report.
Good evening. For the month of June, the current taxes collected for the county were $121,651. The delinquent taxes collected were $37,320. The total collections for June were $173,300.65. We had refunds of $854.77, releases of $61.78. And at the end of the year, our collection rate was 99.23%. Any questions?
Questions for the board?
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now, Mr. Adams with the WCU Tower lease.
Yes, sir. Mr. Dillard extends his apologies, but he was out all night in the search and rescue, and he called me and asked me could he go home and get some rest. And I thought that would be okay for him to, since he appeared before the board at the work session for this issue. So what you have is what was discussed with the board at the work session, and this is in regards to the WCU Tower lease. And a couple of things I do want to point out. I have included, if you see on your screen here, there hasn't been any changes in your packets except for some blanks that are filled in. So if you go and look at when I mean blanks, it's really just dates. If you look at what's in your packets, the item 2 there, you can see the sublease agreements made and entered into the first day. So what's been filled in there is August of 2023. And then on page 2, you see there's some other blanks here that it's filled in with August of one year and ending of the last day of July of the following year. And so what I have included here is just showing you that ultimately that what gets signed by the chairman that this board approves is ultimately filling in these dates with August 2023 and then obviously the August and July of the following year. So, Mr. Chairman, what you do have in front of you is the proposed lease agreement in order for Jackson County to lease from WCU Tower so that we can put our emergency services equipment up on that tower. It's a 25-year lease at minimal cost.
Is there a motion to approve this sublease agreement?
So,
And a second?
second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling,
Yes.
Chairman Letson.
Yes. Moving on to the capital project request.
Again, this is something that Mr. Breedlove had presented at a work session. I believe he said at the work session he was unable to attend. You basically do have 2 capital projects that the TDA had approved, and it does require approval of the Board of Commissioners. The first project is Bridge Park improvements in the amount of $367,757, and the amount approved by the Jackson County TDA was in that amount of $367,757. The other request was from the town of Dillsboro in the amount of $449,000. This bridge construction at Monteith Farmstead Park, and the TDA recommended funding of $125,000.
Is there a motion to approve?
This is out of tourism funds, not.
Yes, yes, sir. So this is out of the tourism fund.
Don't say that for the public.
Is there a motion to approve the construction of Monteith Park and the Bridge Park improvements.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling? Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes.
As stated earlier, number 4, permitting software contract, that'll be put on future agendas for discussion and potential approval. The last item under new business is the substance abuse coordinator and jail NOT coordinator positions. Again, these are 2 grant-funded positions, and ultimately the request is for these positions to be approved. So it's requested that the substance abuse recovery coordinator position be created at grade 25, and the jail-based substance abuse coordinator position be created at grade 24. And again, these are grant-funded positions. Both of them are 24-month positions.
Is there a motion to approve or approve these 2 positions?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we'll have Ms. Henson come back up for resolution order of collection R23-06.
So it's just the annual resolution that we have to approve every year to allow me to collect the upcoming year's taxes. So if you would please approve that for me.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes. Tonight we have a couple of advisory board appointments. The first is for the Agricultural Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Lisa McBride to that advisory board, and she has submitted her volunteer form and has been approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On our volunteer form, I was looking at it the other day, and it's kind of trivial, but it might make a point. There's no place when you sign your name that says, I hereby verify everything I've submitted and said is truthful. I'm pretty sure we do not have that language on that volunteer form. And it'd just be some generic form of language, but I think that would be important if there was ever a question we wanted to ask a nominee before we put them on the board.
I do too.
One other item that I'd like to point out, I know we had this problem with one of our previous applicants, that we checked their background references and they said they didn't have anybody on record. She had a name change, she'd gotten married, so we were looking for the wrong name, maybe a spot on there, any aliases or any other names you're known by. Because it would help eliminate confusion.
Next appointment position is for jury commission, and we have from Bruce Ann Clement has been appointed to serve a 2-year term on the jury commission. The term will begin at the time of appointment and expire on August 21st, 2025. She's been on the board, so is there a motion to approve Ms. Clayton? Or, I'm sorry, Ms. Clement?
Make a motion to approve, Ms. Clement.
Second? Second. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stribling?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Letson?
Yes. Do we have any questions from the press tonight? All right. We do have a need to go into closed session tonight for legal and personnel. So is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? closed session. There was no action taken. With no further business, we do have some meeting announcements, August 1st, 6th. Our general work session at 1 on August 8th, and then a regular meeting August 15th at 6:30. So if there's no further comments, I'll seek a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? We are adjourned.